to another episode of the Shed King and the MAD3RZ Project. It's New Year's Eve day. New Year's Eve day. Today is the question and answers. I've actually written everything down for you so we can go through it together. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I won't dwell on things too much, hopefully. We'll get straight into it. The first one's from MJB Taco. Plans for the truck, drag racing, track racing, autocross, etc. It's mainly built for track racing, so open circuit, door-to-door racing. If you haven't seen or heard of much of that, just type into YouTube track or Queensland QR track racing, Willowbank track racing, Morgan Park. I plan to race there as well. See, my ultimate goal is to get the time attack, but I don't think it's going to happen the next year or so. We'll just have to work our way towards that. Question number 2 from Sean French. Can we run tandem in 2019? Yes, we can. We certainly will. Suspension set up for skids or grip? Explain why. Now, the reason I went coilovers is better suspension control, especially adjustable coilovers, where I've got height control, I've got adjustable dampness as well. I went with that, and also went with the rebuilding the upper control arm so they're adjustable. I can adjust my camber. You can do that, but the coilovers don't fit with the stock control arm the way I went. So that's why I had to build and do what I had to do. The camber is set -2.5, and the caster is set at 1.5. So that gives me, it's very slightly, 2%, but 2.5% overall. And then on the corner, it actually, but with the caster set at 1.5, the wheels actually turn on the same plane. So that was my idea for the steering at the front. The rear is a solid axle, as you know, so there's not going to be much control there. I can't adjust camber or anything like that. It was mainly to get the front end, because the front end was it would oversteer really bad, so that's why I went with the setup that I did. Alright, now question number 3 again from MJB Taco. Brakes worth it even though you had to go a different route? Yes. This is the brake bracket that I ended up having to make. It's 2 14mm holes. 2 14mm holes, and then 2 12mm with tapped holes. And I end up using the original bolts out of the calipers, the stock calipers as well. Yes, it was worth it, because to get a set of these exactly the same here, you're looking around anywhere from 1,500 to 2 grand is what a set of brakes were. These were $500 delivered to my door, with all the pinware and everything. I've got the pads and the rotors here. I did the brakes all up. It cost me just over $1,000 to do front and back. So that was $500 for the 2 calipers. I think the rotors themselves are $100, and pads, they were a couple hundred from memory. And the back, I pretty much paid for the rotors and the pads, because I had the brakes I salvaged off on my brother-in-law's car. So that was very well worth it, because I couldn't have even done it close to that with what we have here in Australia. So thanks again, MJB Taco, you're a legend. This is an interesting question from Toyota Pu89. PU89. Is the truck more ready than you? Yes, it probably is. It's going to be a handful. I know that, and I know what you're trying to say there, and I like it. Question number 5 from Cole Madison. How much horsepower? Well, the expected horsepower is anything from over 500 to do that safely as well. Like, whether the engine's permitting and whatnot. The goal is obviously over 500. Now, I was doing some research this morning, and the curb weight of the car is 1,190 kilos, so that's 2,500 pounds. Now, if you do the power to weight ratio, it's astronomical. So even at 500, it's going to be an absolute handful. So we'll just see how that turns out. at the end of the day, horsepower is not not my goal. What my goal was with the engine build was to actually run 25-30 pound boost through it and not have pistons and rods hanging out the side of the block. That's why I went with the spool rods and all that sort of stuff, and the forged pistons, got my rotating assembly all balanced. You know, went the full hog with it just because I wanted it to be reliable as a reliable turbo engine could be. Anyway, moving on, number 6. Have you done any head work on your engine, i.e. valve springs, more for more boost, etc.? I'll show you the cylinder head in a second, exactly what I did porting wise and why I did what I did. I also went with 85 pound valve springs with extra shims for extra seat tension, so I pushed it up to around 100 pounds of seat tension, only because I'm running so much boost. I want those, and I plan to rev it to around 7,000 RPM, so we'll just see how that all goes. But let's go and check out the cylinder head and we'll talk through that. This is the cylinder head, donated by my lovely friend Andrew. Let's have a close look at exactly what's going on. So this is the flange that I get cut. This is exactly the same ones that I make for my turbo manifolds. And you can see here how much meat there is to be cut out. So let's take this off. And you'll see the mark that I put around here. There's probably about 2.5 to 3 mil. For the guys in the States, that's 3/32, I think. Take out. So if you take out 3 mil on this side, 3 mil on that side, roughly, and 1.5 there, 1.5 there, it's probably opens up that circumference by about 10 mil overall. Once you take all the meat out of the sides and stuff like that. That's for the exhaust side. So that's going to add when you're trying to get on boost quicker. So this is the intake side. What I do is I'll get a flange like this, which is what I make. This is the turbo intake flange. Obviously I cut it down to suit. I haven't done that one this yet. And what I did with mine was I actually fitted the flange and then ported the cylinder head to match the flange. Now you can see there's not a lot of room, like you probably got a mil here, and then on the sides here you can see this bump. See the ridge there, just at the end of the pointer. It actually, if you opened it up, the circumference of this to there is 34 mil, but if you measure inside, it's around 30. So I actually cut all that meat out and then smoothed everything right off all the way through into the chamber. Also at the other end, down here, where the intake and where the valves are, there's a massive rim on the inside of that valve. I haven't taken it off, but inside there's actually a little seat where the valve seats, but the casting is all rough and rounded. I actually smoothed that out and made that all again nice again. With the valves, I left the 31 mil valves, and on the exhaust side is the same. You can see this one's actually got a burnt valve there. That's why it's been chucked. Where I reuse the standard valves, and I just clean them up and linish them so they're all like brand new and shiny. And then yeah, a lot of polishing and porting to tidy it all up. Don't be scared. It's a pretty easy thing it just takes time. So if you've got time and you want to do this, it's a pretty easy job. It's just hours, a lot of hours. To get someone to professionally do this, you're looking at around the $1,200 to $1,500 mark, if not more, depending on what you're doing. There is a lot of good guys out there. I'll put a link in the description to a guy that I would recommend if you're here in Queensland or in Australia. And yeah, let's get back to the questions. Alright, straight back into it. Question number 7 from Jacko_Cutley. What parts supplier and engine builder do you use? You just answered your own question. Smart ass. Jacko_Cutley is the one who built the engine. I could have done it myself, but there's too many measuring techniques and stuff that I'm just not good. Like, I just wanted someone else to do it. When you feel uncomfortable about something, don't do it. You know, and that's why I went through an engine builder. You can pay up to this places that will put part your engine together, and you have to bring it to them all machined, everything ready to go, and it's up to $8,000. So I went with Jacko Cutley because he's a good friend of mine, and he's also very, you know, cost effective. It was very cheap compared to spending $8,000 on an engine builder. What parts supplier? Well, there's LC Engineering. I got the cams through them. I also got a balance shaft delete through LC Engineering. The rest of the parts were basically from Golbys and trades. So I'll put a link in the description for the Golbys webpage where you can basically get everything for these things now. They supply piston rod combos, head gasket studs. Chris Tate has the girdles, and I think he's just releasing now the valve, the rocker covers, billet rocker covers. So, which is going to be pretty awesome. So, anyway, straight on to question 8, and this is the biggest question of them all. From Pat.mold. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I pronounced anyone's name wrong. It's just I'm a little bit dyslexic. So the overall cost. Now, I'm gonna take into mind I didn't pay full price for a lot of things. So I bartered and I traded, and I'd like every time I built a plenum, I'd barter for someone for something. So if you were to put a dollar figure on it, to build the identical engine to this, you're probably looking around the $6 grand. That's including machining and everything like that. And then on top of that, you got to have the cylinder head. I spent, I think it was like close to, with all the valve springs. I had to get a bit of machining work done to the head in terms of the buckets. The shims and the buckets had to get redone, so it ended up costing me around $1,500. Clutch was around $800, brakes $1,000, control arms were about $600. So I worked it all out, and I'm not going to go through each one because there's a lot of crap here, but overall, in parts, like if I was to pay full price for everything, it's around the $16,000 mark. That's including the coilovers, brakes, engine, all the suspension, everything, dash, the whole lot would have been around 16,000 bucks. If you were to add probably give or take 200 man hours at 50 bucks an hour, you're looking at $10,000 to $12,000. So if you add it up, that's 28,000. That's a lot of money. Like I'd be divorced if I paid all that. So I've been quite lucky. I've had a lot of trades where I've done deals with people and done this work, and they give me this or weld this for me and I'll give you that. Like I've done a few deals and it's worked out in my favour. Especially with my boss, he's paid for a lot of things. Like I'll do work on his boat and he'll pay for, you know, a thing for me or something like that in return. So, which has been really good. Question number 9, Andrew Rakin. When will you be going auto? Well, probably as soon as I break the AR5. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last and how long it'll live, but I picked up the box for 220 bucks and then another 150 bucks for the bell housing. It's just so cheap. Like, I can use that bell housing now. I've modified it, and I also sell the adapter plates for the AR5. So if you guys need anything, find me on Instagram at @the_shed_king, and I'll look after you. I can't beat the price of what I got. Like to get a box built for this would be around the $3.5 to $4 grand mark. Yet again, I don't want to get divorced tomorrow, so if I was to do that, then I'd have to do a lot of persuading, and it's too hard. So I'd like to thank everyone that I mentioned in there for giving me questions. If there's anything that you guys want to know, put it in the comments section, and I'll reply to you as soon as I can. If not, if there's too many, I'll make another video. So yeah, I'll do another little walk around for you, and yeah, we'll talk soon.